When Apple says entry level, what they really mean is the cheapest way to spend way too much money on a tablet. Enter the iPad 11 generation, the brand new 2025 model that claims it can handle productivity, creativity, and yes, still your guilty pleasure Netflix marathons. This is Apple's latest entry-level iPad released in March 2025, powered by the A16 chip, 6 gigs of RAM, and finally, a starting storage of 128 gigs. So at least they are not insulting us with 64 gigs anymore. It's slim, portable, and powerful enough to take on schoolwork, documents, and even a little creative flair, as long as you're not expecting Hollywood edits. Apple call it a tablet for everyone. I call it a productivity tool for people who like their spreadsheets with the side of Instagram. It's pitched as the affordable workhorse in the Apple's lineup, the one that doesn't make you take out a small loan like the Pro models. But here's the big question: is the iPad 11 Gen really a productive workhorse, or just another shiny slab that looks serious on your desk with the only task to reflect your room light? Let's find out. Here's the thing about the iPad 11 Gen's design. If you've seen an iPad in the last few years, you've already seen this one. Apple didn't reinvent the wheel here. They just kept polishing the same shiny rectangle until it still looks modern enough. Slim aluminum body, flat edges, and clean design that screams Apple minimalism. In other words, it's still the exact kind of device that looks equally good at home on student desk or in a coffee where someone's trying way too hard to look productive. At 10.9 inches, the Liquid Retina display is the same size as the previous generation, with 2360 by 1640 resolution. Translation: crisp, sharp, and plenty bright for work and play. It hits about 500 nits, so you won't be squinting too hard under normal lighting. Though if you are planning to work outside in direct sunlight, I wish you good luck. The colors are punchy, text is sharp, and for day-to-day productivity, think emails, documents, split-screen multitasking is more than enough. But let's be clear, this is still an entry-level iPad. You are not getting fancy extras like ProMotion battery 120Hz refresh rate or OLED level contrast. For scrolling through spreadsheets, you won't missing it, but if you've ever used an iPad Pro, you'll know exactly what's missing. It's like going from business class back to economy. Functional, but you'll notice the downgrade. The bezels are still here. Slim enough not to feel ancient, but visible enough that you know Apple is saving the super thin look for more expensive models. Anyway, this is the place where your thumbs can live on the screen, so you have plenty of room for that. Touch ID is on the power button, which feels fine once you get used to awkwardly poking the corner. And the best part? It comes in fun colors like silver, blue, pink, and yellow, because nothing says serious productivity like taking notes on a candy colored tablet. So mine is pink because of my wife. So design wise, the iPad 11 Gen is familiar, safe, and practical. The display is sharp and reliable for work, and while it won't wow anyone who's seeing an iPad Pro, it absolutely gets the job done. This is a tool that looks good on your desk, feels premium in your hands, and still leaves just enough missing to remind you, hey, you didn't reach the Pro threshold. Now let's talk about performance, because this is where Apple really wants you to believe the iPad 11 Gen is more than just an entry-level toy. Inside you've got the A16 Bionic chip, the same silicon that powered iPhones not long ago. Pair that with 6 gigs of RAM and suddenly the budget iPad is starting to sound a little serious. And also means that you don't get Apple Intelligence. But honestly, that's not a loss. Missing out on half-baked AI features that drain battery and state the obvious feels more like Apple doing you a favor. And don't even get me started on the image AI. Unless you've always dreamed to turning yourself into a creepy cartoons, you're not missing anything. In day-to-day use, it feels snappy. Apps launch quickly, multitasking is smooth, and it doesn't choke when you've got Safari, Mail, Notes, and maybe YouTube video running in the background. For students juggling research tabs and assignments, or for office workers flipping between Slack, documents, and emails, it has enough muscle to keep it up without turning into a stuttering mess. Even creative tasks are fair game. Photo editing in Lightroom, drawing in Procreate, or casual video editing in iMovie all run without complaint. Just don't expect desktop-class workflows. If you're planning to edit 4K video timelines in Final Cut, you need the Pro model, or better yet, an actual laptop. An A16 is powerful, but iPad OS multitasking is still the bottleneck. Gaming performance, it's surprisingly solid. Apple Arcade titles and even the heavier App Store games run beautifully, thanks to the A16 GPU. So yes, the cheapest iPad doubles as a casual gaming machine. Which is ironic because Apple keeps pitching it as a work device. So here's the verdict on performance. The iPad 11 Gen is plenty fast for almost everyone. For school, light work, and casual creativity, it punches above its weight, but is still held back by iPad OS, and Apple clearly saved the extra polish, like more RAM, promotion, and higher GPU cores for the expensive models, which is understandable. This thing can work hard, but it's not allowed to outshine its price siblings. A productivity device is only as good as its battery, and thankfully the iPad 11 Gen holds up pretty well here. Apple promises up to 10 hours on Wi-Fi or 9 hours on cellular, which translated from Apple marketing means, sure, it will last through a day of emails, note-taking, and a few Netflix episodes, as long as you don't try to replace your gaming PC with it. In real life, the A16 chip is efficient enough to stretch a school day or work day without anxiety. Word docs, research, Zoom calls, light editing, the iPad handles them without draining like my motivation on a Monday morning after 3 snoozes. Push it harder with multitasking or basic video editing and you'll be watching your battery percentage a little more nervously, but overall it's consistent and reliable. Now here is where it gets fun. In Bulgaria and many other regions in Europe, Apple doesn't even bother giving you a charger. You get a USB Type-C cable in the box and that's it. You want to actually charge the thing? Either recycle a charger from your other devices or prepare to buy Apple's 20-watt adapter separately. Yes, Apple sells you a tablet and then makes charging it your personal side quest. The good news is, since it's USB Type-C, you can use a charger from most modern phones, laptops, and third-party brands, and it will work just fine. The not so good news is that charging speeds are not blazing fast. Even with the Apple's 20-watt brick, you are looking at around 2.5 hours for a full charge. So definitely not fast charging in 2025 terms. Bottom line, the iPad 11 Gen has dependable battery life, but charging may touch your nerves. The iPad's much larger battery compared to the iPhone means it takes significantly longer to reach a full charge. If Apple wanted to keep things simple, they could just leave the cable out too and leave only with instructions. You know, really drive home minimalist lifestyle. So after all the specs, design and battery talk, here is the $1,000,000 question. Who is this iPad actually for? And is it worth your hard-earned cash or just your patience? The iPad 11 Gen sits squarely in Apple's not too pro, not too basic zone. It's powerful enough for students, casual office work, note-taking and light creative tasks, but it won't replace a MacBook or compete with the iPad Pro for heavy lifting. That A16 chip is no joke. Multitasking, spreadsheets, Zoom calls and basic Photoshop or Procreate handled. Price-wise, it's Apple's most affordable iPad in 2025, starting at a price that might still make you blink twice. Price starts from $329 or €399, but compared to other tablets or even entry-level laptops, it's competitive. If your main goal is smooth iPadOS performance, long-term software updates, and that unmistakable Apple polish. The value is in the ecosystem, the reliability and the simplicity. Apps just work, updates just arrive, and everything generally feels premium, even if it's not the pro tier device. Who should pick this up? Students who need study companion, professionals who want a secondary device, casual users who want to browse, stream, and occasionally work, and anyone who secretly enjoys the satisfaction of holding an Apple product that doesn't scream, "I spend my life savings on this." It's not for hardcore creatives, 3D artists, or any expecting to swap a laptop for it. Unless your laptop tasks are basically email, docs, and YouTube. At the end of the day, the iPad 11 Gen is a balanced, dependable, middle-of-the-road productivity tablet. It won't blow your mind, but it won't frustrate you either. A rare thing in the modern tech jungle. If you want an Apple tablet that can handle your day-to-day life without making you feel like a budget traitor, this is it. Just don't expect to be winning any awards for ultimate power user performance. So, here is the bottom line. The iPad 11 Gen is not here to blow your mind. It's here to quietly get the job done. Solid design, dependable performance, decent battery, and just enough Apple polish to remind you why you didn't buy a random Android tablet on sale. Yes, the lack of Apple intelligence sounds like a cut, but trust me, you dodged a bullet. Watching Apple's AI try to reimagine your photos is like letting a toddler redecorate your living room. Suddenly nothing is where it should be, and somehow there is a glitter on the ceiling. It's not revolutionary, but it doesn't have to be. This iPad is proof that sometimes the cheapest option really is the most sensible one, until of course Apple convinces otherwise next year. That's all. Take care.